Our business is very strange, and I think some of you are sitting here will really, really appreciate what we are trying to do, and in a way, very different from what you've known of trust and what you will otherwise see outside in terms of product launches and all that. So we will show you something which is truly unique and is being actually launched in this forum here today. Just to give you a little bit of background, Authbridge has been in the business of picking needles out of haystack for the last 12 years. So we are the largest employee screening company today in India. And we've been on it for about 12 years. Now, all of us who've known background screening, who've used background screening, have known it to be a largely services piece, where it takes you 21 days to deliver a background screening report. But that's not going to be the case very soon. What you will see here in the next few slides is an ability to deliver trust, as we call it, within a few seconds. How we deliver our business and how we went about automating this whole piece is taught as a case study in the MBA Operations Research Program at University of North Carolina, Harvard Business School, University of the Kennan Flagler School, and ISB. So it's been a great piece of putting this whole puzzle together in a country like India, where there is no unique identifier, at least wasn't there till very recently. How would you identify a person out of a haystack? And how would you then very quickly figure out, and when I say very quickly, within a few seconds, figure out whether he's the person you were looking at, and does this person have any kind of negative antecedents because of which you may not like to work with him? Today's economy, we know it runs on blind trust. People you don't know get hired very quickly. Customers whom banks are not able to screen get loans. Similarly, somebody who's driving your cab gets behind the wheels, and the company which is running the cab doesn't know how to go about screening that person, because there is no instant way of doing that screening. I mean, I was recently I had taken a cab in one of my recent trips to Mumbai. And the driver actually told me that he's looking out for a job because he's running for a cab company, and whether we can offer him a job in our company. Between the time he picked up from a point A and dropped me at point B, I had 15 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, I sent a photograph of his Aadhaar card back to my office in Gurgaon. And I had a report back before he dropped me at point B that this guy has a criminal record in his hometown, back in the place where he belongs to. And that case he's been fighting for a case of physical assault for the last 5 years. Now, he seemed like a perfectly nice guy, talked very nicely, and I could have probably hired him. But for that, few seconds of wisdom that I could actually get the data out. So there were no criminal repositories till very recently. There was no way to verify somebody's education within a few seconds. There was no way to verify employment history. And that's the reason why only 10% of the country remains, 10 to 15% of the people in the country actually get a loan. The remaining population, about 85% of the population, remains uncreditable, and therefore banks have to take a significant amount of risk while giving them loans. And even identity authentication is a very, very weak engine. So only 6% of the current demand of authentication in India is actually serviced the way authentication is currently conducted in India. But that's not going to be the same. While we have on-demand services for cab and food and home delivery, and we all trust everybody who comes into our house, and whether it is for repairing a pipeline or a cab driver who picks us from point A, drops us to point B, there is an element of fear at the back of our mind all the time. But have you ever realized, and because I know I'm talking to the HR fraternity, and the HR fraternity here does do very rigorous employment screening, but have you ever figured out if there was a way to do a lot of that very quickly and do it on demand? So what Authbridge actually brings and is launching today as a platform is an ability to do background checks when you need them and to give you results within a few seconds. To prove this ability, we have been working with some of the largest employers and largest recruiters of blue-collar people in the country, people who recruit or impanel as high as 5,000 people a day to be able to prove the concept that can we verify 5,000 people with their identity and criminal records within a few seconds and tell you whether to retain that guy or not. And our discrepancy percentage on just our data is about 5%. And we've never, ever been wrong. So every time we've gone back to the company, told them that don't hire this person because there is a record against that person, and the person's been confronted, there has been a record. So what we did, we actually looked at various antecedents of the individual. So typically we divided it into identity, profile, and reputation. And we automated everything. We just figured out science and databases and platforms over the last 5 years that we've been onto it to automate and deliver all of these screenings within a few seconds. So for example, an Aadhaar card. And if you were to go to our stall, which is there, we've actually installed an Aadhaar printing machine there just to prove the concept. So if you have an Aadhaar number handy with you and a registered mobile number, we can actually print your Aadhaar card with all of your data within a second. So technically speaking, of course, that happens with your consent. And I could actually pick up that data, put it into our criminal search engines, and within a few seconds tell you that if there is any civil or criminal litigation or there is anything negative against you as an individual in any part of the country without your being aware of it. We've come across incredible instances where people did not know they had cases against them which have been languishing in some court in India for years. And because even the complaining party never came, the case has been lying dormant for years. This is just so we pick up our Aadhaar number, put it into our system, and boom, within a second, you have an answer, whether the Aadhaar number actually belongs to this person or not. Not only that, we have the ability to actually pull out your Aadhaar data, which you will see in the stall that we have, and pull it out from a system within a few seconds. This is directly integrated with the Aadhaar systems. We can do PAN card authentication within a second. I mean, the way I'm clicking the screen here, these are of course screenshots, but if you want to see the live application up there, you can actually test it out with your own PAN number. In fact, in the HR use cases, one of the biggest use case of both of these is actually the candidate onboarding process, where two of our largest clients actually use it to make sure that the candidate who comes in for the first interaction with HR and the guy who actually joins is the same person. Now, the only way you can, in a large organization, figure that out is by taking a series of photographs and then somebody sitting and manually verifying it, but you don't need to do that anymore. So an application where you pay a small amount of money per transaction actually tells you in real time as a part of your normal business process without having to create any friction in your existing processes. And if the guy says, I don't have an Aadhaar card, we can take his PAN, we can take his voter ID. So you can see here, we can instantly give you the details of that individual as on his voter ID. Now, if he's carrying a voter ID with him, you can near instantly authenticate whether it's the same person or not, because we'll give you data straight out of the government websites. Similarly, driving licenses, with just a driving license number, we can tell you whom does this driving license belong to, what kind of a vehicle that person is allowed to drive, what is the validity of that license. Very powerful in the cab business. So we work with some of the largest cab aggregators in the country to help them keep a track of the driving licenses, identities of people who drive their cabs around. I mean, it gives us a lot of reassurance that we've been able to clean up a lot of people who would have otherwise been sitting behind cabs, and and the incidents of all kind of incidents we keep hearing would have been much higher had we not come into this whole process about a year and a half back and cleaned up the whole criminal and civil authentication engine in India. This is a passport. Now you may have a business where you are having to hire people from different parts of the world. The same engine very frictionlessly tells you and instantly authenticates for you any passport issued in any part of the world. Every single government issues a passport following a structure, and all of that has been coded and built into our systems to be able to give you a near instant check on the passport. So again, it's for you to figure out what use cases and work with our solutions team to figure out what can we do for you. But essentially, any identity in the country can be, any identity issued by the government can be instantly authenticated by Authbridge on your systems in a very frictionless manner. In a similar way, we went after the employment verification. We know how difficult is it. So we went to some of the largest employers. And if you were to hire anybody from any of these companies today, we will be able to give you an employment verification within a second. The systems are integrated with so we've created a large pool of ex-employee data, and we are continuing to build it in collaboration with some of the largest employers in the country to be able to service the industry back by giving you an authentication response within a few seconds. I mean, it just works. At your end, you will, of course, have a visibility of which of your employees is getting hired where, gives you tremendous insights into your own ex-employee data, which there is absolutely no way for you to get today. So you see this here is a login of an employer who's contributed data to us. They can see really in real time which employee is leaving, joining which organization, to give them a visibility of what do they need to do from a retention perspective, which part of the organization they need to kind of work on rather than working on the entire breadth of the organization. The process again works very quickly. I mean, you just enter stated antecedents, and a report comes out from the system within a second telling you whether whatever the employee has committed, is that true or false. Almost every single background screening company in India uses Authbridge's Work Attest platform today to deliver instant employment checks, and we are getting more and more contributors to come in to contribute. We did exactly the same in education. So we have about 200 million education records that we've aggregated over a period of last 4 years to be able to give you education screening within a second. So in certain parts of the country, irrespective of the tenure of the individual, we can give you his education data just within a few seconds. So again, a system throws out a report within a second. And you could use it as an employer, or in any case, the background screening industry is continuing to use it. So you get an instant report from the system. It's just literally a few clicks away. We just need to make sure, of course, so the entire process, of course, requires the consent from the individual, so that we've ensured it's very closely interwoven into it. So you can't really do anybody's background screening without the person's explicit consent getting uploaded into our systems, either physically or electronically. And because we are, again, integrated with Aadhaar, we use some of the most advanced e-signing tools where you can literally give a consent from your mobile phone, sitting from the comfort of your home, and the whole background screening process works very seamlessly. The biggest thing we did was to build a litigation search engine, which is one of its kind, where we aggregated about 200 million civil and criminal litigation data points. And India doesn't have a unique identifier, so some of these criminal records are very old, and there is no unique identification system tagged to them. They don't have an Aadhaar card tagged to them. But we built advanced machine learning algorithms to be able to search through that haystack and give you within a few seconds a response. I mean, people have Salman Khan in their ad, so I'm just putting Salman Khan's name here just as a case in point. So we know Salman Khan stays in Galaxy Apartments in Mumbai, and if you were to just put this search, the system will immediately tell you that he does not have any his records in the crime watch list of India. So he's not prevented from leaving the country. He's no longer in the Interpol most wanted list, etc. But there are 54 matches against his name. And I had just entered the name and the address. Click on the number, and it will tell you that there is a 98.5% probability that this criminal case on top belongs to him. Now, irrespective of how the name of the individual has been written and how his address is captured by the police or by the law enforcement machinery or by the judicial system in India, the system seamlessly searches it and within a few seconds throws a result out to you. You can see it working live on the demo tables. You can actually see the next level here. Click on a link and you can see what kind of criminal history, etc. this person has, and does it bother you, and we can filter that data. For example, You may, we know of, we work with an organization which did not want to hire people who had financial crimes against them. So it's not just the normal heinous crimes and whatever. So those are definitely a separate area altogether. But even heinous financial crimes, and the system has the ability to actually pick up the specific crime sections and tell you that this person has a record against, in this particular case. So we've done this cases live, this engine live for board members of some of the largest organizations in the country just to prove it. And the results have been exemplary. I mean, so essentially what we've tried to do over a period of time is to make a process which had been happening over a period of 14 to 21 days and bring it down to just 14 to 21 seconds really, and put the power back in your hands as an employer rather than you're sending a bunch of cases to us, get the candidate to enter the data and the system just throws a result for you by the time the candidate is finished entering his record. So it's as quick as that. And the whole idea of course is that while today you're having to use screening just for very specific purposes where you have a 14 to 15 days kind of a time, and you end up giving up 94% of the situations where you should feel you do want screening and your system tells you, and you yourself feel that you need to be able to screen, but you don't because of lack of time. So this actually, the whole system gives you almost an instant way of doing it and helps you make, of course, informed decisions. So we can actually, like my team is here, we can open the screen here right now, and if anybody is willing to give me his Aadhaar number right now on the live system, I can match it on the crime data and within a few seconds show you whether there is anything matching or not. We had some interesting episodes back in our stall. Anybody wanting to take the challenge? Yes, Aadhaar number please. Okay, your number is 7030, last 4 digits? Yeah. Okay, we'll have the number. 360724, validate OTP. Okay, so that's you?
Yes.
All right, great. So now we're going to run a reputation check on you. So you're going to run, are you all right with that? Hold on, Parag. We are going to run your name through various negative, positive lists we have in the system. And Parag, please go ahead. Okay, so what we've done here is we picked up your name from the Aadhaar system and we picked up the address that we just got directly from the system and we are submitting it. Now the system is checked. There is no match on the reputation risk database check, which is the regulatory databases of India, SEBI and all of that. There are no matches in any criminal repositories, but there are 65 matches in the litigation search. Now let's just see the results. Now the highest match is 73.5%, which is of New Housing Board, Shastri Nagar, Piyush. That's not you? Okay, right. So basically, within a second, it's kind of picked up. So is your first name Piyush, right? Yeah. So what the system has done is it's picked up Piyush. Just scroll down for a second, Parag.
Ajay, I'm sorry. I think we're completely out of time.
Yeah, I'm just finished. I'm done. So irrespective of how the addresses have been written, Piyush could have been written in any possible way. The system gives a match, and we can generate probabilities up to a 1%. So anybody who has a probability match of greater than 80%, usually in our experience, there is a real match. So what this tells you, because it's the highest match is, just go to the top, Parag, quickly please, is 73.5. So most likely it's a non-match. Just click on the link. So you can see what the case is, who are the respondents, what is the section 136 of the Indian Penal Code. It's a criminal case, and that's the matter. So anyways, this is the power, right? So it just took us 1 second to tell you, and irrespective of what identity, we can almost real time tell you if the person has any conflicting interest, is a board member in any company which he hasn't disclosed to you as a recruiting person. So there's a lot of power to the system that you can kind of use for your own business. Thank you very much.